I was born and raised in Detroit. I love my city. I adore all the growth and the architecture and all the amazing things we've accomplished, whether it be Motown or the automotive industry. And as I've traveled the world and spent time and lived in different places, I find that there's no place like home. Detroit will always be home to me, and it'll always be a place that I love. I love this staple, which is amazing. And it really inspired me to do my podcast, which is called Detroit Girl Transform. I decided to do this podcast on Resilient Radio, which is a Black-owned station based in Detroit. And it really highlights the transformation of my city while I, as an individual, was transforming. And what kind of people come out of Detroit, which are really people with hustle and grit, who are determined and also exhibit perseverance. The podcast will really focus on different people that have different phases of transformation, whether it be their finances, their well-being, their travel experiences, how they transform their relationships, how they transform their spiritual beliefs. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, and that's what's best for our city, and that's what's best for our legacy and our future and our family. Welcome to another episode of Detroit Girl Transform. I'm your host and your favorite Detroit girlie, Tony Carter. I am so excited about tonight's episode. I know that I say that every week, but I really do be excited about all my episodes. And I am sitting in a room full of bosses and entrepreneurs who are going to share their transformative journey with us as they went and grew with their companies, and also on their leadership experience. And we're going to talk about inspiration, peak valleys, failures, as well as how they launched to focus on their business. So welcome. Hey. All right, so I'm going to start with the gentleman in the blue. Everybody's coordinated today.
Let's go.
And we have Jamar, who's the owner of Perique and Brandywine, and also the COO of America's Focus Group. Welcome, Jamar.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And we have Mark, our ambassador for Detroit Girl Transform. You'll see him at least one time per season, maybe two. So
maybe three.
The three.
And Mark is CEO of World and Sign Inc. and Async Rock.
Async Rock.
Mm-hmm. Welcome, Mark.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you. And Devin.
Hey, girl.
Eyebrows on fleek. Owner of Bear Print DMV, a luxury wax studio that is in PG County. Yes. And she keeps my eyebrows looking nice.
Mm-hmm.
Sam. I don't know why I always want to say Sam I am, like the Green Day Sam.
Everybody does.
Everybody does.
I can imagine.
And Sam is the owner of More Active Lifestyle Gym. And he's a fitness guru, 20 plus years in the gym experience. And also keeps us nice and fit and a healthier lifestyle. And Ebony, I'm so looking forward to getting to know you today. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Ebony, you are the founder of Embrace Your Life Counseling and Wellness Services.
Yes.
So I'm excited to hear more about that. I just did an episode on well-being.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so that is my introduction of you. But I think that you all would do yourself much better justice of telling us a little bit about who you are and your business and anything you want the audience to know, because after this episode, a lot of people will probably be following you. So I'm going to start with the ladies. Ebony, you want to tell us about your business?
Okay. I thought she was going to go that way, but
I always shock people.
That's fine. So I'm Ebony Fowler, owner of Embrace Your Life Counseling and Wellness. I am a licensed psychotherapist, a certified yoga instructor. I'm a newly published children's author as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The Happiness Handbook on Amazon. I also do corporate wellness events, and I do wellness workshops for schools and companies.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to pop around. Jamar?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamar Owens. I am the owner of Perique and Brandywine. We are a luxury event space located in Southern Maryland, down in PG County. Also, I serve as the COO of America's Focus Group, better known as AFG, where we are a government consulting firm just providing service support to your Department of Defense. Happy to be here.
Welcome. All right. Sam?
I am Samuel Torre, owner and master trainer in More Active Lifestyle, and I do a array of different things. I am a life coach. I do life coach. I do nutrition planning. I've been in the business, like she said, for over 20 years. I've trained an array of different people. So from as old as 85.
Seasoned.
Yes, this season adults and as young as 10. So everything. So anything you need, I got you. Again, more active lifestyle.
And you do get personal counseling when you're getting your workout. So you get 2 for 1. You get life coaching while he's fussing at you about your form.
Right. And my motto in my business is live life actively.
There you go.
Live
Yes.
life actively.
I love that.
That is my motto. You come in, you're going to see it right on the door. Live life actively.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Devin.
Hey everybody again, my name is Devin Kirby. I go by Devin Elaine. I am a licensed esthetician and owner of the Bear Print DMV, which is in Prince George's County, Maryland. We specialize in Brazilian waxing, brows, and ultimately making women of color conscious of what they use on their skin every single day. I started in the beauty industry at the age of 16, where I did makeup, weddings, events. I launched a product line, but it landed me where I am today with the Bear Print. And I just like my clients to get their bare results and then just feel like the most relaxing environment possible.
Nice.
And I asked Devin to come on here because I think she's really an inspiration to young adults, like that she branched out to do her own thing at a young age, and it's just doing really well. And so I think it's really inspirational to really take that leap of faith and just bet on yourself, which I think is so important. And to your point, I do get fussed at about my sunscreen regimen. So, but you know, I get compliments on my skin. So, Devin, thank you very much.
Yes, with love.
And last but not least, our ambassador. All things. Listen, Mark is such a supporter. Before he talks about what he does professionally, I think that he has a good niche for talent, a good eye for talent, and if he believes in something you're doing, he's all gas, no brakes. And so I think that that to me is probably one of the many reasons why you're so successful. But he's also really good about paying it forward. And so I think what you put out in the universe is what you get back. So, Mark.
Thank you for that. So I'm Mark Sparger, CEO of World and Sign, and we're a media content translation company where we focus on converting key content into ASL. So American Sign Language, for those who don't understand what ASL is. And so we've done Mr. Rogers and a host of PBS shows, and we're very excited about future opportunities and not just focusing on Department of Education and PBS. So reach out, we'd love to convert your content to ASL. I'm also the owner of the SyncRock Corporation, where I lead as the principal, focus on doing government contracting. We're a USCG. We're also an NTIS and various others that we're looking to attack. So again, looking to partner with anyone who's focused on government contract. We'll love to work with you. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Thank you. And I get a lot of texts and emails about some of the uniqueness of Mark's business, especially with the World of Sign. So I think it's very inspirational, the work that you do. The work that all of you do. And I think that sometimes when you find that niche that you're passionate about, or also a niche that hasn't really been tapped into, it really becomes very lucrative. So I'll introduce myself. I forgot I am a business owner now.
That's right.
I am Tony Carter, and I actually have now 2 LLCs. My first one is TC Creative Concepts, and that is really where I connect people to really manifest their vision. So I do vision board parties, career coaching, consulting with people who are trying to transition or rebrand themselves in their careers. And then my new business is a podcast, and Detroit Girl Transformed is a podcast focused solely on transformation. And each week we talk about different transformative experiences, whether it be transforming your travel experience from leisure to inspiration and cultural enrichment, or transforming your well-being, which was my episode that'll be coming up next week, or just the transition of relocating to an unfamiliar place, which Mark and I talked about, going from Detroit to the DMV. So I'm excited. And I've also had an opportunity to meet some amazing people on this journey. So looking forward to it. Y'all ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
All right. So I think everybody wants to know and understand, for any entrepreneur, what inspired you to take the journey on your specific business. And so I would like to hear from each panelist on, like, what was it that inspired you to do it? Why did you feel it was necessary? And so I'll start with you, Jamar.
Awesome. So I've always been a problem solver. Had the knack for solutioning and just trying to figure out what made something tick. And then after exploring the consulting world for the last 18 years and really getting and focusing on client engagement, I realized that it was my intellectual capital that my clients really relied on more than just another salesperson. And I realized that the value that I was bringing to them, I wasn't profit margin driven, though I still needed to make a living for my family. And though after a lot of reluctancy and fear and scarcity, I was encouraged to take the leap of faith. So over the past year, I launched in 2024. And so we've been doing great. We've been able to land 2 government contracts so far. And so that's been a blessing. As far as Perique and Brandywine, that was a venture that kind of just landed in my lap. That came from a family business, but it gave me the opportunity and the space to be creative and to explore and to be innovative with customer service in a market that I've never done. So I was able to just bring all the business principles and just drive in the luxury event space business.
And I'm obviously a fan of Perique. I had my 40th birthday at Perique in Detroit. So I think that is super dope that the family decided to expand into the DMV. And obviously, this is my primary and only event space. So I do feel like it's a luxury experience because you can show up and everything is already there. I think that it costs a lot of money to rent furniture if people have never done an event. It's like thousands of dollars. So for them to include it in the price and you don't have to transport it, I think it's huge. So
thank you.
Yeah. Devin?
I'm Devin. What inspired me to start my business? I feel like it's been a long journey since I started doing makeup at 16, and definitely being from a generation of family that didn't like do self-care or do facials or wear any makeup. So it was like I was doing something totally out of the ordinary. But I think it like really honed in on me when I graduated during COVID from Towson University, and I was working in the banking industry. I was going to work, doing my 9 to 5, and I was just like, this is not for me. Like, this can't be the life that I would live for myself forever. This can't be my life. But I found aesthetic school. I didn't know how much money you can make in the beauty industry, being a multi-million-dollar industry. And once I learned that, I just ran for it, and I just kept running, and that's how I'm here today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Listen, in the pandemic, not getting my eyebrows done almost took me out. I mean, my mother was like, "You gonna have to figure something out. Like, have you seen yourself?" I'm like, "Bye." Yes, my mother was shaming me. So I would tell you, people in the beauty industry will be the last to go. Whatever happens, people want to look good.
It's true.
Sam, what inspired you?
I feel like when you have a calling, I'm one of those people, like, I'm a giver. I'm a giver of my time, my energy, and everything. And my calling is just a giver. And I wanted to be in a field that really give back to our community and help us. So one thing I got into that I was like, this is a natural. Like, when you find something that you're natural and it's easy, you kind of feel like this is home. Fitness was home to me. And it's a way for me to connect with people. I dive into it working from like having a 9 to 5. It was making good money. I was like, let me try something that gets me to connect with people and give back. And when I got into it, it just felt like a long lost, like going back to a space to feel safe, like feel like home. That's what it felt like to me. So it inspired me, and going in the fitness industry, nobody looks like, a lot of people don't look like us. Or we're discriminated against, or they don't understand the reasoning. Because if you look at stats, 60% or 70% of black men and women are obese. Mm-hmm. Or more than that is morbidly obese. So if you look at the stats alone, you reason like, oh, they lazy. You have all the other things. But when you go deep down inside, understand by cultural differences and everything else, you need somebody that speaks your language. Mm-hmm. No matter where it is, you want to go to places that people don't understand you. Absolutely. This is why I'm here. And this is my trauma. And this is what I'm trying to get away from. And I heard this quote one time. They said, sometimes the way you need to lose is not on your body. And if you know somebody that knows you, they understand that. Mm-hmm. Without speaking, they understand it. So that inspired me to go into the fitness industry full through, really supporting us going into it. Because there's already spaces for them. I need a space for us. Awesome. And when I opened up my gym, I made it so it's for us. It feels safe. It feels like home. You walk in, Tony will let you know, I'm like, what you want to listen to? What you want to listen to?
Oh, he says grand rising queen, which he knows I don't like.
You gonna get what you want to listen to. We're gonna have our
I get to play my own playlist.
Whatever it is, you come through it. This is your home. Be safe. Come in, have fun, and just be comfortable. Let it loose. Talk. I'm here to listen, and vice versa. Like, my clients have saved my life.
Awesome.
Like, as much as they come to me, like, you know how much you've done. I'm like, you don't know what you've done for me. Because I be having some days, I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah, but that's that them days. But like, it's a mutual thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think I'm in biotech, and so I think, just understanding that people of color, specifically Hispanic and Black people, are, 3 times more likely to have hospitalization or mortality from COVID and other infectious diseases due to our underlying health conditions, diabetes, hypertension, obesity. So a lot of times when people are developing clinical drugs, we are the least likely to be a part of the testing, right? But that's because of trust. And so if we could be preventative and get in the gym, be active, and change our healthy, our eating and our relationship with food, grow our own gardens and things like that, I think it would be beneficial. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. All right, Ebony?
Okay, well, what inspired me to, one, be a therapist in the first place and also start my own business, I guess, is where I'll go. I've always had a natural tendency to want to be a helper. I saw lots of people struggle with things that they were not aware of or weren't aware that they were affecting somebody else in a negative way or a harmful way. I was always the kid that was trying to help somebody that was being bullied. Like, I just always had this heart to want to help other people, like, smile, feel good about themselves. Most of my friends will say that all throughout my life. I've been that person since high school. I know I wanted to be a therapist, but in high school, I was not a high achieving student. I had ADHD and did not know that I had ADHD, so I struggled for a long time in school before I started really taking it seriously and learning what worked for me. That was another reason why I was like, I need somebody to help me understand this issue in school. And a lot of people that look like me were not being evaluated and diagnosed, women specifically, or girls, but a lot of boys were being diagnosed with ADHD, in the 90s, and we got overlooked. I was the average student. I wasn't the person that had, F's and D's, but I also didn't have A's and B's. Had C's and B's, but, I knew I wanted to be a therapist, but I was intimidated by the journey, to go to grad school outside of college. I didn't know if I was going to make it through college, but I betted on myself. I had people in my corner that really believed in me. My parents, really good friends, community members that believed in me and saw something in me and told me how to create my own coping skills. So once I learned how to do for myself, that's really what I start sharing with everybody, whether it's a friend or a family member or a little cousin or fake little cousin that we have. Hey, Maya. I really do try to show people the things that have been helpful to me, and that's just naturally part of who I am. So becoming a therapist, I finally went to undergrad, and I went with the intentions of being a psychology major, but the school kind of bamboozled me, and they lost funding to psychology that year. So it ended up that I became a child development major, which really influenced this part of my career because I'm a trauma specialist. Specifically, I help people, children and adults, with childhood trauma, overcoming those wounds, understanding the attachment styles, and really learning how to love themselves and heal from things that have hurt them. So I did not think that I was going to be a business owner either, and I figured that out somehow. But I knew I wanted to be a therapist for a long time. I just took a route that was unconventional. I worked a lot of nonprofit jobs. I did a lot of case management, things like that. I worked in education, and I finally went back to grad school when I believed in myself enough to make it happen. That was 2013. Awesome. Yeah, so 2013, 2017, I worked, as a contractor for a couple different companies. But I realized that it didn't seem that complicated to do the billing and the administrative work as a therapist because I saw the ins and outs of it. I figured out how to do it. And I was like, I can do this myself. I could cut the middleman out and keep that extra 30%. Yeah. But also, I did not know how to do that. I had never really seen a model of somebody starting, a business from scratch. And my business started in 2020. It's all virtual. So I had a low overhead. It was kind of easy to get started and just jump into it. But the only thing that I did not really do too thoroughly was the research of what was required to start a business and to maintain it. But I learned every step of the way on my own. I did the Google searches. I had lots of people in my corner that were are business owners as well, friends. So I figured it out, and I've been successful as a business owner for 4 years now, and I'm looking forward to what the future has to hold.
Yeah,
That was a long
awesome.
answer, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think it's so many people that have not been diagnosed with some of, so many different things, right? Whether it be anxiety, ADHD, autism. Yeah, because it's spectrums that are highly functional.
Yes.
Highly functional. And it doesn't, I think in our community, we have to stop putting a stigmatism on it. I think one of my friends is a therapist, and she says most people have a superpower, right? And so instead of making it a negative, make it positive. And I think we just need to really understand there's a disability you can see in the one that you can't. And so, we all probably have one. A little bit of something. Right. Right. So I think having some candor and compassion to help people through that is important. Mark?
So what inspired me, I actually stand on the shoulders of others. Both of my companies were not started by me. And just throughout my career, even going back in one of my first promotions, it was someone that called me. And again, all believed in me, saw something in me. And so I stand on the shoulders of many people who have invested their time and leaned into me, which made me a better person, better leader, better partner. And so that's where I see success. And so World and Sign, I was not a person that knew anything about sign language. I had to learn it. And what it was, I was engaged in a business opportunity and was brought in. And then with respect to World and Sign, after they saw me in the industry, it was going through a transition. They said, would you come over and run it and take over the company? And exactly what I did. And we transitioned from just being a sign language interpreting firm to a media content translation company. And that's where we seek success. And no one is really doing that in the marketplace. And so how do we make sure that we have relevant information that all people can have access to? So we talk about functional equivalency. If a TV show is on and you have captions is not their first language of speaking and reading English. Right. ASL is their first language. So we have to put that content in their language. And so that's what our ultimate goal is making sure that we're capturing the marketplace, getting this content translated and making sure it's an American Sign Language and available for all. And then same thing with the Sync Rob. We live in the DC area.
That we do.
And how many times do you do government business? And for me, I was like, I'm in the private sector. I don't know anything about government business. And then I started doing research and looking for opportunities, and this somewhat fell in my lap. And as a result of that, I took over the company just a little over a year ago, and we started seeing some immediate success, very similar to what you stated in your company. And so I'm just very excited about the opportunities of what's going to take us forward and how we get there. But the biggest thing was not success in the past that got me here. It's failure. How many times have you started a business or started something and failed?
That would take another episode.
You know what I mean? and I have more failures in my past than successes. I have many successes, but I learned the most when I scraped my knee than I did when things went right. And same thing with where I'm at right now. It's just through the grace of God, through the blessings. And again, I do stand on the shoulders of others who have supported me, leaned into me, and got me here. And so I'm very thankful for all of them. And I say thank you to those people.
Well, they're watching. Awesome. And I think, and we're going to talk a little bit about failure a little bit later on in the episode, but I think one of the other things that I think is really amazing about true leadership, I don't know if anybody follows Brene Brown, but she talks about vulnerability. And she talks about vulnerability in a way that I probably have never, I'll send you all some of her clips, but yeah, I think vulnerability is when you're comfortable enough in a very open setting to say, I learned a lot from my failures. Because usually we like to give this persona that it was all, it was easy, or it was, or we got it all right the first time. But people, statistics show that people especially connect with leaders who can be vulnerable. And I think that, thank you, Mark, for sharing that. And now you're going to share more on that. But it's very inspirational because there are people out here that are discouraged from their failures, and they might be on the verge of quitting. So sometimes your story can be somebody's transition. Yeah. All right. So
We're going to help them get there.
We're going to help them get there. And that's what I love about that. That's what transformation is about, right? And that's what the transformative experience is about. So for those of you that don't know, I am so honored to be on the Resilient radio stream. And I think that resilience is one of my favorite words.
Yes.
And I think it's so relevant to this episode, to this topic specifically. And so, in order to run a profitable, sustainable business, you have to have a level of determination and resilience. And so I'm curious to know of a situation in which you felt like you had to lean forward in a lot of determination and resilience to keep your doors open. And Sam, I'll start with you. Just in a time where, as an example, of when you had to use determination and resilience to keep your doors open.
The pandemic. That was a test for everybody, every business owner. There wasn't help coming from anywhere. You have to figure it out. Like, you no longer can do what you used to do. You can't be in person. You have to come up with. Everybody was doing free workouts. So what's different about you? What am I paying for you? Everybody else doing their free workouts online, building something else. So it's like I opened up the gym here. I used to be in Georgetown. The gym here, I opened the gym that's close to Alexandria. And during the pandemic, like I took a big leap during the pandemic to do that. Like I didn't get it going till like in person was open, but like I got it set up, got everything, got the equipment shipped over, everything. And the one way I stayed afloat, one of my other second business, I opened up a cleaning business. When they was doing this, they had offices that needed cleaning. I got 3 employees. Yeah. We went out there, we cleaned the offices. I was there doing it. The hustle is in me. So it's like that. You got to lean into it. If you're a hustler, if you're a business owner, you got to know how to hustle and find different ways to get it. When one door closes, you got to be a window open. Like go in and jump in that window, keep it going. Keep it going. But that's what kept me going. I just leaned into my vast knowledge of like, you know what? Go get it. Go get it. And I'm here now. The business is successful. I'm busy. 4 a.m. in the morning, I'm at the gym. I'm leaving at 8. So it's good. Thank you, God.
Awesome. Thank you, God. Mark, what about you?
I mean, that's a great question. For me, it's a tough story. So I was a partner in a startup. We were building subsea cable systems, and we were connecting it to the Americas. And we started getting some funding. Things was really growing. We were building all the relationships. And my founder partner embezzled the money. So we went from thinking we're about to go buy some nice cars and life's about to be good and I'll be retiring in a couple of years on some island or something like that, to all of a sudden the money's gone. So like I mentioned, you have failures and the challenges, and the thing is what do you do from there? So that was a big challenge. I mean, because now you're going into your savings and your bank account to sustain yourself because all the money you thought you had is all of a sudden gone. So it was a challenge, but the thing is resiliency. And so coming out of that, I started thinking about a potential business name, and the actual business name was Resilient. Because of the fact that we are resilient, we're able to overcome anything. We have to be strategic. We got to start thinking differently, finding opportunities. But again, not being afraid to fail and start thinking about what's next. So
that's a great story, and I think a lot of people would have been discouraged from that, and even had trust issues. But you didn't, I don't know as much, but it seemed like you have trust issues. Like you still take risk when you do business, but you understood that was just a point in time. Awesome, Ebony.
Well, quite the opposite for me. So I started my business in 2020. There was lots of opportunity in mental health.
Oh yeah, it was booming then.
It was booming.
Y'all needed therapists then.
I had a therapist. I had a therapist and I have a therapist now. But business was taking off. There was a lot of opportunity. A lot of people were open to mental health and understanding their mental health and pouring into that during 2020. I was working for 2 private practices at that time as a contractor. And I knew that I wanted to work with my own population of people, to say that in the kindest way that I can. I wanted to help people that look like me, that didn't always have access to these type of services. So virtual, that opened the door for me to even consider opening a business, because the one thing that I was afraid of the most was, where am I going to get the capital to start a business and have no building? But during the pandemic, it was a lot easier to do that. I just needed to figure out my LLC and a business plan and how I was going to get clients. But as a therapist, I took insurance at that time, which helped me a lot tremendously. But It helped me gain a lot of clientele very quickly. Within like 3 months, I was full. Didn't have to worry about, trying to market at all for 4 years, which is a blessing. But the inconsistency of payments and just trying to like get used to the flow of invoice to invoice, claim to claim, and not necessarily getting a pay schedule of every 2 weeks or not even once a month. That was the biggest adjustment I had to learn how to live through, and I don't think everybody could do that. I know for a fact a lot of people couldn't do that. A lot of therapists don't take that leap to go into private practice full time because it feels unstable, because it feels risky. It is risky, but you have to really, really just button down and become a lot more disciplined with finances and like living a lifestyle that is easy to maintain. Luckily, I had a great financial advisor who helped get me on track with a budget, so I was able to work it, even though my budget was never the same every single 2 weeks or every month. But by the grace of God, I figured it out, and I was pretty successful with that until I made a switch, and I'll talk about that on the next part.
All right. So I think, it's important to just stay the course. And also, it's okay to rebrand. I think one of the things that I came to the conclusion of is I'm going to rebrand my vision board parties and focus more on corporate clients, right? Just because most of the time it's a team building activity, it's an exercise that a lot of companies do, but it's more of a strategic planning around aligning with the 3-year to 5-year strategy. So it doesn't mean I'm going to discontinue vision board parties, but I'm going to rebrand it. Yeah, so sometimes you just think about it that way, but don't give up. Right? Don't give up on yourself. And so I love that these are stories of just everyone continuing to bet on themselves. All right. So what's your superpower? I think, when you're coming in as an entrepreneur, you mobilize some kind of superpower to either inspire you to start or to keep you going. So what do you think your superpower is, Jamar?
Wow, my superpower. I probably have to say compassion. My ability to connect with people, to truly get to the bottom of what's ailing them, what's impacting them, what's challenging them. And to realize that even behind all of the data, all of the numbers, all of the information, there's a person there. To have just that knack for problem solving, the care for people, to be able to take that into the workplace, to take that into the government sector, to take that into event space, knowing that you are working with people, knowing that there is someone that has a challenge that they need to solve and they're looking for a solution, and having that compassion for what it is that they need and that you can be that sustainable problem solver for them.
That's awesome. I love that. Devin?
I think my superpower is my ability to make, definitely in my industry, making clients feel at ease. I feel like in the beauty industry, a lot of people are intimidated to go to different service providers, whether it be like makeup artists, hairstylists. So I just want to have an open door for clients to just have a moment to just take a pause from life, even if it's for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, no matter how long the service is. That's always my goal, just to make people feel like you can talk to me. I always tell my clients once they come in, like, we're besties now.
Clearly.
So, yeah, it's just girl talk.
She's at my birthday parties.
Yeah. So that's my ultimate goal, just to make people feel easy. I want them to feel like they have somewhere to go and a little therapy, girl therapy.
A safe space while you're getting
You need it.
your beauty makeover. I know. I come in like, girl. She be like, I'm going to bike you up. You need to be. Because I come in every week like, oh my goodness, I look a mess. I look a mess. And she be like, Tony, it's been a couple of weeks. Settle down.
Yes.
Sam, what's your superpower?
Empathy. I think in my industry, especially in the vulnerability that people have to have coming into my space, people are coming to see me when I did best, most I did lowest. I always tell my clients,
Especially that before picture. Oh, God.
I be like, I gotta meet you where you at. That's the specialty. The way I train, I don't look at you and train you based on that. I meet you where you at. After my first assessment, we go through everything, emotional, mental. I'm like, if you can't do one push-up, that's where we're gonna start from. We're going to start at that one push-up and get up. I ain't about to have you going over there squatting and you can't do one push-up. Because I think we're not doing what's cool. Like, even my social media, which is bad, I don't videotape my clients. And I'm like, this is your space. It's your intimate space. Let's work on you. Let's work on that. So this is the empathy of knowing that this person is going through something. They may not want to. They may not be ready to talk about it right now, but they're going through it. They reached out for a reason. Just be there for them. Be there through this journey and just walk them through it. And then eventually, that when they start opening up to you, it's done. The friendship opens. There's a level of trust that comes with. There's a level of respect that comes with that. Hey, coach. It comes with that. Like you become that person. Like you will become that coach. Coach. Anybody that plays sport, understand coach is all. Like that's the biggest compliment you tell someone. You call somebody a coach because coach says something.
And yeah, and it's translatable in corporate America. Coaches everywhere.
Anyway, so that's the thing. You get that big nut. Like they kind of calling you coach. Like this respect. So this empathy for my client and everybody around me.
Yeah, and I think what if the CEO stood for chief empathy officer, right? Mm-hmm. What kind of company would that be? And I think empathy is an acquired skill. Mm-hmm. It's not an easy skill to have. There's a lot of people think they're empathetic or not. They do. And I don't be wanting to tell them, like, I've been at DEI for a while. You're not empathetic, but, and I think and empathy is very different than sympathy. Yes. Sympathy is feeling sorry for somebody. And empathy is connecting and meeting people where they are. Yep. What's your superpower?
Oh, wow. The ability to execute, to get things done. If I say I'm going to do it, it happens. There is no guesswork or anything of that nature. And one of the downside of me is I'm not always empathetic because of people that are around me. They're not executing with me. I'm ready to move. So I got to be a little more compassionate.
Self-awareness is really good. And I relate because, if you were, especially when I was at Walmart, I was known for execution. It was later on that I was known for empathy, but still known for execution. I'm like, well, it's got to get done. So, do we have a backup? So I think, but that's a good brand to have. Like people know that they can ask you one time and they can go do something else. They don't really have to follow up. They know you're going to show up. So I think my superpower is definitely the ability to be in industries that could definitely keep you up at night and be comfortable sleeping that I've never made a decision I'm not aligned with. Mm-hmm. Being in HR for so many years and impacting someone's livelihood, I've never made a decision that I didn't agree with. I've never impacted a situation that I felt like was unethical. And I'm a very values-driven leader. Mm-hmm. And I don't deviate from my core values. I have not in 20 plus years. All right. So since we got a lot of bosses in here, what is the term boss moves? What does that mean to you? What does boss moves mean to you, Jamar?
Ooh. So I'm a systems engineer by both education and trade. And so typically I would want to break the word apart. Looking at the boss side of it, the leader, the decision maker, then moves. It's an action to move from one place to another. The slang boss moves often has us looking at someone who is just moving and shaking, bringing down or closing a major business. But for me, it's about strategically and systematically assessing, deciding, and moving out on an outcome or decision that is sustainable. You have to have the holistic view and to have the ability to process information quickly. So a boss move is just having that enact to assess, decide, move in a way that is sustainable.
I love that. And I love that you acknowledge that this is how my mind's going to think this through. Because it's
analytical.
Yeah. So I'm going to break it up and bring it back. Devin, what does boss moves mean to you?
I feel like boss moves mean to me is hustle. For example, what you was telling about rebranding. Mm-hmm. When I first launched my business, I was talking to you earlier, I was doing facials, I was doing waxing, I was doing everything. And I had to just get to the point where as a boss, I'm not just a waxer. I had to be a business owner. I had to really lock in and take the emotions out of it and cut services that I no longer wanted because I know the ultimate goal is to have a franchise. So I need to lock in and look at the numbers, look at how many sticks I'm using, every little detail of every little thing. So I say being the boss is taking the emotion out of it, looking before everything and just locking in when needed.
And that's a good call out, because sometimes we want to extend ourselves, but sometimes when you overextend, you don't become the master of some of the traits that some of the trades that you want to master. So, like for example, do not ask me to do your resume. I've been in HR for 20 plus years. It's not my thing. It's not my jam.
At least you know that.
And I'm very upfront about it. Now, my friends be like, can you just look at it? Because I know, obviously, as a hiring manager for 20 plus years, but I really want to spend more time with you on the conversation of the connection that you're making and the relationships you're building. So I took that completely out of my business effortlessly, even though people try to bring it back, but it's not to me, it's not the best use of my time as far as what I want to brand and what I want to be known for. Sam, what about you? What does boss moves mean?
I think similar to you, like it's breaking down the words and just looking at it independently. I think as a boss, I think what I've picked up in doing my business, being in business for like over a decade, is you are the talent. Do what you do best. Hire people that do what they do best to keep your business going.
That's a boss move.
That's a boss move. That's a boss move.
A long time to understand that, because you want a penny pinch as a business. You want to be the media. You want to be the CEO. You want to be all.
Well, that's me.
Because you got to keep it all. What that does, it just takes your time away. It takes your energy. It drains you from actually doing what you're talented at. Like, you are this talent. You are this person. Like, be that. And then hire good people around you to make sure the engine keep going. Do the research to hire this people. Put stuff in place. When they come in, they know what to do. There's a model for them to follow.
Yeah.
We do this at this time and this time. I'm still working on doing that, getting the team, but that's what I realize right now in this stage of my life right now. Like, I can teach classes. I can teach courses. I can teach other trainers. I can teach you how to run your business. But that's just a lot of things I can't do when I'm still trying to train. Realizing that's like, take yourself out of it and be a boss. A boss is not always at the business, being the business and doing all like they're the head of the business, running the business. They have other people around them, making sure everything is up, the day-to-day, the CFO and all those other things. So like, get you breaking it down, making moves is just hiring the right people.
If I may,
absolutely.
Even what you just described, Sam, is like the evolution of going from a business operator to a business owner.
Yep, absolutely.
And those are two different things that oftentimes when people get into business, they don't understand and they're unable to make that disconnect. So
I'm learning. Trust.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good call out, because there's a lot of people that operate a business, right? Or it's the difference between like a manager and a leader, right?
Absolutely.
Very huge difference. And I think if you want to invest in the resources so that you can continue to be inspired by your craft, because it will drain you. I mean, I'm not even halfway through the season. I just hired a project manager. I called the owner. I said, let me tell you something. Making all these schedules with all these important people and doing these bios and all of this is taken away from what I want to do, which is have the transformative conversation. And he's like, wow, you're not even all the way into your first season and you came to that conclusion. I said, absolutely.
That's smart.
Absolutely. I said, because you don't want to get the side of me where I'm drained with things I don't like, that don't bring me joy. So awesome. Well, we are going to take a commercial break. I'm really, first of all, thank all of you for your vulnerability and transparency. I think it's going to really help a lot of current and future entrepreneurs. I'm excited about the next half of the conversation, but we have to pay the bills. So if you would like to be a sponsor or participate in advertisement with the Detroit Girl Transform podcast, please send me an email at dgt313podcast@gmail.com. And now we're off to our commercial break. Thank you. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. So many gems are being dropped today. Now it's time for us to take a commercial break and highlight our sponsors that are also great champions of transformation. If you would like to be a sponsor for this podcast, be sure to reach out to me, your host, Tony Carter, at dgt313podcast@gmail.com. Again, that's dgt313podcast@gmail.com. I am excited about the sponsors, and I hope that you have enjoyed the podcast so far. Now it's time for a commercial break. It's transformation time, baby. Welcome back to Detroit Girl Transform. I am your host and your favorite Detroit girly, Tony Carter. So before we get back into our conversation, I do want to highlight that I am a co-author of this amazing book, The Empower Black Female Leader. There'll be a link on my socials, DGT_313 on my IG, or you can find this book on Amazon.com. So I co-authored this book with 9 other amazing Black women. My closing chapter is about betting on yourself, which I thought was very fitting for this episode. And I really talk about you negotiating yourself as human capital and understanding that your value is also a part of your, is also a part of your journey, and don't undersell yourself, but really just double down on bet on you. So I thought it was really fitting for this episode. So make sure, and Mark, almost everybody here has a book. So, but it was a great opportunity, and also an opportunity for me to go in a direction of just really where I feel as an HR leader that we typically, people of color, don't get as much investment in development, training. We don't always get invited to the retreats. So this is where I just put you in a leadership seat and in a driver's seat to negotiate your executive coach and all the professional development in your job offer. Mm-hmm. All right. So back to it. You ready to get back to it?
Let's get to it.
So we have talked a lot about inspiration and success. But I want to talk a little bit about what I call fail forward, right? Because failing is not the end all be all. And a lot of people learn from failure. And so I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about a time when you had to either regroup or rebrand in your business due to failure and what that looked like. And Mark, I'll start with you.
No, so I think I shared a story earlier in the conversation. And for me, failure is not necessarily a bad thing. If you're not failing, then that means you're not doing enough. You're not learning. You're missing out on certain opportunities. And so you have to figure out ways to stretch yourself. And to be stretched, for you're not working out, you're breaking down your muscle. That's what it's actually doing. And so for me, those have always been learning opportunities. I learned the most when I failed. And I have many. And I was an athlete, got injuries. I learned from those injuries to how to now become a better athlete. Same thing as a boss. I learned from making mistakes as a leader, but then more importantly, going back to what you said earlier, having compassion and listening. Mm. The biggest thing we can do as leaders is listen, but I learned all of these aspects in my career through making mistakes. I'm a better person, a better individual as a result of all of my failures. So I fell forward, and I believe in it, and I hope I go out tomorrow and do something not just right, that I can learn from and can do something better the next time.
Absolutely. And I think we could learn from failing in both personal and professional, right? And sometimes growing up, I even remember just talking to some of my family members about, hey, it's okay to let me fail. I know we want to protect and put our kids in a bubble, but it's okay to make sure that we have our own experience with failure, because it will help us have even more grit and determination to get things done.
And that's a great point that you just made about kids. And I used to say, we grew up our kids, and I was having a conversation with my mom, and I said, my kids haven't done anything to get in trouble. And I go,
you want another kid?
Oh, wait a minute. I know you're not talking about.
It's very blessed. And I'm like, but I need something to happen so it can become a teachable moment. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, you have to use the good times to teach, but sometimes you need a little something, a little something to just go, hey, now let me share with you why that happened, how it happened, and how you can mitigate it going forward, and that you can become better. And I just remember having that conversation with my mom. So yes, it's the same thing with our kids and our family, our friends. You need sometimes adversity to make things just a little better that you can learn from it. And unfortunately, my kids didn't really do anything. It was a blessing. But yeah, so it's with our family, our kids, everybody. It's how do you learn from these opportunities? And there's so many teachable moments.
Absolutely. Ebony?
So I recently have undergone a transition in my business. So my business is just me, single member LLC. I do everything, which is what I'm trying to learn how to do next, is how to scale and grow. And eventually, giving the reins up and hiring somebody to help me. I need help. But I transitioned out of accepting insurance as a therapist at the end of last year, which was a really, really difficult decision because it felt like it was a consistent stream of income until it wasn't consistent and reliable. So I knew that I had to pivot and do something else, but I also thought that I was just going to be a therapist forever. Like, I love being a therapist. It's my dream job. It's what I always wanted to do, but I never really saw myself doing anything outside of that, like behind the screen or off the couch. So when I stopped taking insurance, I switched over to out-of-pocket services only, which was devastating to myself and some of my clients that I work with, unfortunately, because a lot of people just couldn't make the switch, and I genuinely understand that, and I gave them so much compassion and so many resources, and I tried my best to help them find other people that they can work with and network, for themselves, for their children. My business, though, it definitely decreased, I want to say, by at least 50 to 60% in clients. So that was also a reduction, 50 to 60% in income for the first month of this new year. So trying to understand the marketing side of things, like I said before, I never had to market anything. I was lucky enough, blessed enough to have clients. I had a waiting list for over a year at one point. I didn't really have to do anything to find people, but I had to do more than just my little $30 subscription on Psychology Today, which gives me a lot of clients. But I had to learn how to do things differently. And for me, I did not know how to do that, and I knew that I needed help. So I am enrolled in 2 coaching programs right now.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm enrolled in a paid one and then a free one. Thank God for the University of Maryland and BOC. They helped me a lot. They helped me with the business operations side of things. And then I have a coaching community filled with therapists and mental health professionals that teach us how to diversify and scale our income. So I had to learn how to do things differently, one, in the marketing and operations, but I had to learn that I can't just do this one thing. I can't be a one-trick pony is what they say, or a one-trick horse. I have to do other things, and I can do other things, but I was in my comfort zone. My comfort zone is talking to people one-on-one, small groups, families, that kind of thing. But now I'm pivoting. I wrote my first book last year. I have 2 in the works right now. I'm also doing some other things outside of myself, rebranding, as you said. So I primarily work with people individually and families, but I'm working in schools again. I did my first speaking event at a school just 3 days ago. I haven't done any public speaking in the last 10 years. So that was scary in itself. But I knew that I had to do things differently in order to, one, reconnect with the community, learn how to do marketing. And honestly, I took my marketing back to the old school, kind of like what we were talking about on the break, showing up at, a school with information for families, or showing up and saying, hey, let me do this meditation with you and show you, what I can do, for training for teachers, or like, let me come in and do an exercise for kids. I want to do a yoga club for kids in schools. I'm trying to figure out how to do that too. But yeah, I learned, and honestly, I was able to regroup in 2 months or less and go from having maybe 2 clients a week in January to having about 6 or 7, which for private practice therapists, we don't need that many. I just need 10 to get back to where I was last year, seeing 25 people with insurance. It's way different now. So I was able to really bounce back a lot quicker than people thought that I would, because I had a lot of help.
Awesome.
I had a lot of good advice.
Yeah, awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sam? Fail forward.
Yes, I think in business in general, I think when he said something about sports, I was watching something earlier. The Dream Team, they had a situation when they first got together, and they had to go play a bunch of college kids. The coach made sure they were ready, but I don't think it was ready for them. But being in a situation for them, teachable memory requires you to fail. The college kids, I'm talking about, destroyed them. They won. Surprisingly beat them. The coach let them lose because he took the best players out, took Michael and them out, took them y'all gonna lose. But that allowed them to be they realized oh man, we gotta learn to work together. We were superstars, but learn to work together. But failing forward in my business, to using that as this, what I've done consistently when any kind of obstacle during the pandemic. I told her I had a contract with Georgetown University, and right before the pandemic, within that, I lost that. They were downsizing and cutting some stuff out. You talking about a big chunk of my income? Big chunk of my income. They were paying good. I was paying good money. So in doing that, and I was in Georgetown. My studio was in Georgetown. So I had to pivot and come up with something different and move into how do I do this? Do I go back to driving the clients' houses? Because my income is low. Do I do outside? Because I can't afford to stay in Georgetown. All of those things. And I bet on myself. I looked at some spaces. I found a space that was close to my house. I talked to the owner. He's like, this. I was like, I got this. I'm gonna do this. I bet it on myself. Opened the space during the pandemic. Nobody was there, but I set it up. I opened it up. I rented it out to some yoga teachers and people that was teaching classes. They came in and did it. It was an open. It was nothing in the gym. They were coming and teaching their classes. It
That was smart though.
So during that, and just keep till my equipment coming in, and I can be in person. And like we talked earlier about doing over business, over ventures. I'm always constantly looking for another way to grow. I realized one of my mentors told me, he said, never put all your eggs in one basket as a business owner. Don't let one employer be the primary source of your income.
Yeah.
Because they can ruin you. Because if you lose them, so have all those multiple streams of income or multiple different big contracts.
Yeah.
Joe Chan was my whale. When that happened, I was like,
So you need about 3 whales.
yes.
Yeah.
So just failing forward is just constantly reinventing yourself, finding new things, and I've done that consistently in my business. You say for the last decade plus, I have not worked for anybody. I have been paying myself for the last decade plus.
Congratulations.
And living good, traveling and living life.
Living his best life. I think one of the things you touched on, and I think, Mark, I remembered it in your bio as well. We all have to think about having multiple unique contributions that makes you indisposable. And you have to make sure that you continue to evolve with the trend. So I remember when I was at my vision board event, there was a young lady said, I want to go into HR because they are always going to need HR. And I'm like, no, they're not. I'm like, if you look at the trend, I was like, this is a role that will be outsourced very soon, which is why I'm branching out, right? I think you just always want to think about what is your, you need to have multiple whales, right, coming in. And you always need to evolve and pivot and keep yourself at a cutting edge. I'm very smart enough to know when there's going to be a phase in, a phase out. That's just that's one of my niches where I can actually go into a company and predict and say, hey, we need to scale down. The size of the team doesn't match the organizational structure and the work that we need to do. Or we need to scale up and we get a 3 to 5 year projection. We're going to outgrow the business. Or you as an individual, the business is going to leave you behind. So it's like if I'm giving you individual coaching, I can give you some feedback and say, hey, and in a way to say, I'm on your side. But if you don't pivot, the business is going to leave you behind. And it usually is people that are change resistors or just don't, So I think just to your point as an entrepreneur, you definitely want to have an opportunity to continue to evolve your unique contribution where people they can't let you go.
Indispensable.
Yeah, indispensable. Yeah. All right. So last question. This has been fun today. This has been fun today. Describe just thinking about where you are today. Now, for those of you, my one episode before this one, we spent time on well-being, and I went to a resort called Miraval. And they don't let you go on the future, and they don't let you talk about the past. You have to talk about your present day. I mean, that's a week of that. Now, that was hard for me. Okay? And I can't wait till y'all see the episode because I was on with Michelle, who she's like, oh, I attract a lot of overachievers, and that's why you were in 3 of my courses. Because I'm thinking about 2 weeks ahead. And she's like, no, I'm talking about right now. I'm like, right at this second? But I say that to say that's what I want you to answer is in the present, right now, describe in one word what you feel about your role as an entrepreneur today. And I'm happy to go first if that makes it easier.
Okay.
Transformative.
Blessed.
Yes.
That was gonna be my word, but I'll say.
I know.
Do it, but if that's your word. That's your word. You can listen.
That's his word.
Okay.
I'm gonna say overcomer.
I love that.
I will say unstoppable.
Ooh.
Gracefully unstoppable.
It's one word.
No,
See
the one unstoppable.
What?
Yes.
I was going to say unstoppable. I just did a talk on unstoppable for Women's Month at a school, but I would say empowered.
Ooh, I love it.
Determined.
So let me make sure I got it. Empowered, determined, gracefully unstoppable,
Yes.
blessed. Wait,
Overcomer.
overcomer.
And transform.
And transform.
And transform it. I forgot my own word. And resilient.
Gotta use all the words.
Gotta use all the words. Well, I hope you all were just as blessed as I was to get so many gems from so many bosses who shared their journey, their transformative experiences, how they fell forward, what inspired them, and also what keeps them going, what keeps the doors open. So thank you for joining today's episode of Detroit Girl Transform. It is my duty and my honor to bring you transformative experiences every week on the Resilient Radio stream. Check us out every Tuesday at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's transformation time, baby. Bye. Yay! Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Detroit Girl Transformed. Listening to these stories of transformation has not only been informative, but very inspiring. Be sure to join us on Transformation Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Resilient Radio stream. It's transformation time, baby.